Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Hello, thought I'd talk about a little carpenter's tool I have, and it's right here. It's known as a gimlet. Now these have been around for a long time, well, what they are is, like I mentioned, a carpenter's tool. And what you have is this metal shaft coming out of a wood handle. Notice it's a nice little T-handle, a little flattened out down here, and then nice and long, and then you see that it's kind of like a drill bit down there at the end, and then at the very end it looks like a screw tip. And the purpose of this is so that you can start holes in wood. So what you do is you press down hard on the wood and you start turning your handle. So the T-handle isn't normally gripped like that, it's just used so you can get better leverage than you would with a regular screwdriver or something. And the idea is once you get the hole started, you just back it out and use regular screws. But this is basically a hole starter that was used by carpenters. And these have been around for hundreds of years, probably, who knows, 1,000 years, maybe more. As long as there's been somebody who's able to cut that thing in there, gimlets have been around. But sometime along the way, somebody decided that that's a nice little poker, and you could definitely hurt somebody with it if you were to poke them. And then somewhere in the 1830s in the southern United States, somebody not only said, that's a nice little poker, they went further and said, man, that is a nice little poker. And I bet I can make it even a better nice little poker. And the push dagger was invented. Now, why would somebody want something like this as a weapon? First of all, because it takes very little training to poke somebody. And so that was one of the reasons. And the other thing is it's nice and small and light. And so a lot of people would use this. They would hide it in their pockets and such. I understand it was very popular among Southern gentlemen and politicians. And one of the reasons is you got to remember at that time, this would have been their weapon of choice. And it's a one-shot deal. Once you fired it, or if it misfires, this was your backup. So it's very popular among gamblers and stuff. But by the time that was coming along, they were looking more like this. So you had a nice actual knife blade on it, and the blade would either be oriented as it is here, or it would be even to the ground like so. So your hand would be holding it like so and poking in between. In any case, that's where the push dagger started off at, as a gimlet. And guess what? Same place for the corkscrew. Corkscrews, they say that they started off as a somebody cutting down the ball extractor for muskets, but even the ball extractor for muskets was pretty much a gimlet tool, so just really long. But in any case, the gimlet led to, well, let me put it this way. This gimlet pretty much reached perfection sometime during World War I, when Robbins of Dudley started manufacturing these push daggers for British soldiers and, well, serving in the trenches. These came out sometime around 1916, 1917. I wish I knew the exact date of that they began. All I know is the word came out that the soldiers fighting in the trenches were in need of weapons and knives and stuff of that nature, and Robbins of Dudley said, "Well, I'll step up the game and I will start producing things for that." And this is what he came out with. And it's kind of interesting. You look at this first and you think, "Oh, it's a little pistol or something," but no, it's just a what looks like a pistol holster is basically a sheath designed to protect the entire knife inside from all the crap that would happen to it in the trenches. So that's why you have the sheath, and you basically pull on the leather strap and it pops open the flap, and the buckle there is just so that the whole sheath doesn't fall off your belt once you open it up. And well, here it is, the Robbins of Dudley push dagger that was first designed sometime during World War I, most likely end of 1916, beginning in 1917, and was something that the British soldier was able to purchase on his own. It was not an issued item. It was basically extra kit. You could buy them. A lot of people would buy them and send them to loved ones serving in the trenches and stuff of that nature. And you see here on the bottom it says Robbins Dudley, which leads a lot of people to say Robbins and Dudley, but it's actually Robbins of Dudley because the company that produced them was, I believe it was Robbins and Company, and they were made in Dudley in the county of Worcester, now part of the Midlands of England or something like that. I don't naming places in the UK is beyond me, the way they do it. But Dudley was a town, and matter of fact, it's one of the towns where the that is credited with the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And somewhere in the process, the town of Dudley became an industrial center, and Robbins was one of the people producing things there. He was a metal worker, and he came up with this idea. And he actually produced this knife in about about 10 different versions. So the handle changed over time. Also, the blade positioning changed also. As in at one time, I believe the blade here was actually coming out of the part down here. So it was just a regular dagger type knife or regular trench knife. But this was one of the more popular versions of it, the push dagger version. And it's said that these were made, or a lot of people would say, yeah, they made these so that you could sneak up onto a person in a trench and stab them in the back. And that could very well be, but I have a feeling it was more or less just when you ended up having the brawl and your rifle was too long to use in the trench, or you were out of ammunition and you had nothing better to do. I could picture you one hand with a bayonet in your hand and the other hand with one of these in the others, and you're just fighting for your life for it. Trench fighting was not a fun thing. I'm sure I'm glad I would have never had to go through something like that. It had to just be brutally awful. In any case, this is not an original. This is a reproduction made by Windlass Cutlery, but it is pretty close to the original. The dimensions-wise, it is very accurate. One thing I've noticed is the you see the top finger groove is kind of small, and your finger actually goes over the top. Now, I have seen original versions of it that are like that, but I also have seen other ones where there's a larger finger groove up here, and it's probably a little more comfortable to hold. But the thickness here is about the way all of them have looked on the pictures I've seen online. I have not held one of these in person. I don't think there's a whole lot of people who have. So about the closest thing I could get to is this one, the one by Windlass Cutlery. The handle on this is an alloy steel. That's in the originals. That's what they said. It was made of some kind of alloy. I believe this one is made out of aluminum. Might have been a zinc alloy or who knows what, but it was just a heavy cast handle that a steel blade was inserted into, and then you had the knuckle guard here for 3 knuckles, also made of steel, that was inserted into the front portion of the handle, and then into the bottom of the handle there, and then you grab it like so and you poke with it. Well, there's 2 things on here that are definitely different than what you have with the original Robbins of Dudley push daggers. And the first is right up here at the top where it says Robbins Dudley. If you notice, that is basically cut into there. It's kind of like engraved into it. It is kind of deep, but it is still just kind of stamped into it. It isn't really part of it. On the originals, from what I understand, it actually has it on the bottom, Robbins Dudley, and it is actually forged into the handle. It isn't just stamped into it. And as for the other difference in there, well, this one says made in India. And well, the originals would not be saying made in India. They would just be saying Robbins of Dudley. So 2 things to look for in the event that somebody is trying to pass off one of these as an original is the fact that they will probably end up having to file down where it says made in India. So look for any kind of blemishes there. And then the other thing is Robbins of Dudley or Robbins Dudley is stamped on the wrong end. So that's another way to recognize it. Now the one that has the blade, this heavy blade coming out of the end here and turning it into just a traditional or typical trench dagger, it would have Robbins of Dudley on this end, but otherwise it would not have it there. So in any case, thought I'd show this to you. Oh, and if you notice, I've done this a couple times. The edge on this is not sharp. I do not believe they were issued sharp, but I'm sure that soldiers would have been sharpening them in the trenches so that they would improve penetration. But believe me, it will still penetrate without a sharp edge here. I think if I were to actually decide to sharpen the edges on this thing, I would probably sharpen maybe the first inch or 2, but not the full length of it, just for my own safety's sake, because I would hate for my hand to rotate somehow if this were to slip and catch into the blade here. Much less likely to catch the blade near the tip there. But having a sharpened edge there would help with the penetration. In any case, you also notice at the top there, you notice you got the double fullers coming down to a point there. And that is the way the originals were done on both the top and bottom. So you have 2 fullers running down there. And that adds a little bit of strength to the handle. I'm sorry, to the blade. But anyway, it's a really interesting knife. Really one of those things you just don't see too often. Originals of these, most of them that you'll find will be either in museums. I guess a few of them are out there in private collections and stuff. You rarely will see one of them come up for sale, and if it does come up for sale, it's going to go for the thousands of dollars. I often see the reproductions going on eBay for $100, $150. So they are not cheap to find. Your best bet is actually ordering them straight from Windlass Cutlery or from Atlanta Cutlery, someplace like that, if this is something that that would be interesting to you. I could see it as if you're a World War I reenactor, if you're a Tommy in World War I, or even a German who wants to have some captured kit on him. You know, if you're into reenacting, I can see how this could be something that you would really like to have. And also, even if you're a World War II reenactor, these were also used in limited numbers during World War II. I don't know if they were still being made at that time, or if or if they were, father giving it to son and saying, serve me well in the trenches, you're going to need it, son. But he's also made it into the kits of British soldiers in World War II as well. There's also a skeletonized sheath for these things, but really, if you want to have one and want it to look a little classy, try and find the a little pistol holster scabbard for it instead, because that really makes it look good. In any case, hope you enjoyed the video. Stick around for some slides. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Pious. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.